Hi, and welcome back to Between Screenings. Delighted to be chatting all things film again with Tom Percival. Not much other than a certain Odyssey has happened since we last spoke, I don't think, Tom. I mean, films have come out, films have underperformed, and the Odyssey has come and conquered them all, I believe.
Yes, like the walls of Troy falling before Odysseus and his clever wooden horse, cinema has buckled at the knees for the Odyssey, which is currently breaking box office records, selling out the BFI IMAX here in London until September 10th, I think, the last time I checked. It is genuinely a phenomenon we haven't seen, arguably, since Barbenheimer in terms of cinema sort of for excitement. But what can you expect? It's Christopher Nolan, isn't it? You know, whenever the guy makes a movie, this is the type of thing that happens. And I do think it's testament to his ability, like to how well loved he is as a filmmaker, that he can make essentially a 3-hour retelling of a poem from ancient Greece, and you get normal people turning up to watch it, because this is the type of thing you can see, slightly more artistic directors, should we say, wanting to do, and it makes £2 and 50 pence, and that director never works again. But because Nolan's attached to it, it's doing gangbusters.
Yeah, and it's the first ever film shot entirely on IMAX. So I think the sort of drive for people to go and see it in IMAX, especially in 70mm IMAX, where there aren't as many projectors. I know in America people are traveling huge distances to do that. And like you say, BFI IMAX in London is sold out till sort of mid-August. I went and saw it at the 70mm IMAX in Manchester on the Friday morning at 8 a.m. and it was completely sold out. It was absolutely packed. And it was kind of nice watching a film that didn't chop and change between aspect ratios. It just stuck in the big old IMAX format throughout the whole film. And I've only seen it in IMAX. I'd be interested to go and see it in another format because I'd love to know what it'd look like in CinemaScope, because it looked beautiful in IMAX. I was worried that everything was going to kind of be, the main focus was going to be the center of the screen. And I was watching it thinking, how are they going to crop this for other formats? But I'm sure they've done a brilliant job in moving it to other formats. But yeah, it's something people are excited about. It's a cultural moment. I think, like you say, with Christopher Nolan, I think it's not just a film being released now. It is its own kind of cultural moment. And part of that comes into how much money someone like Universal will spend on marketing for the film. Like, let's not beat about the bush. Like, they've spent hundreds of millions marketing the film. So
walked through Leicester Square the other day, and there was a literal Trojan horse just, sat outside the Odeon. So, it's not like they've scrimped on the marketing budget for this. I will say, just on it being a phenomenon, like I think I've gone on public record saying that I hate going to the cinema with the general public on this podcast. If I haven't, I do. People always on the phones, people always talking. When Em and I went to the BFI IMAX to see the film, there was a group of lads sat behind us, and I did think to myself, oh, great, there's going to be talking, there's going to be fucking shenanigans all the way through this. Hearing them talk through the trailers, they were so excited they were like, oh my God, this is, Christopher Nolan doesn't miss. And all of this, genuine enthusiasm for cinema. And they were like, do you think we're going to get the Dune trailer? Do you think we're going to get the Dune trailer? And it was lovely to see. And I will say that, my biases were proven wrong. Those people who went out to see the film absolutely loved it. And as we were leaving, they were so excited. They were like, oh my God, that was epic. And I mean, of course they'd say that, but I really, really enjoy just how excited everyone is for this. It does seem like people are willing to turn out for good movies, and that's excellent to see.
yeah, and the audience were very well behaved in the screening I went to. There's the weird phenomenon of people taking photos of the title card. With the BBFC card, which I just don't get. But I mean, more power to you. If you like getting a photo of the BBFC card, you go for it. Did you get the 4-minute clip from Dune?
Yeah, I did. And I'll be honest, I wasn't. I don't like Dune. I'm a Dune skeptic anyway. I think Denis Villeneuve has done an excellent job of capturing the grandeur and the scale of, Frank Herbert's novels. But I've always felt those films are super cold, which is ironic considering how
Yes,
much of it
I
is set in a
agree.
desert. Like, I don't care about any of the characters, and I never have. Like,
No, that is kind of a feature of the books as well. Have you read the books?
no, I've started Dune, the first one, about 4 times, and I've always got about 100 pages in and gone, there are
Yeah.
better things I could be doing with my
I
life.
mean, the problem with Paul Atreides is he's not a particularly likable character in the books. Really, the books are kind of cold. I went and saw Dune 2 in the IMAX and was probably sat a bit too far forward because it was just a bit too much. And I kind of went again. It was like an 8 a.m. screening. I ended up sort of nodding off during it because it's just so sort of monotone in terms of its color palette and stuff. I think it's just a bit hypnotic. So I need to rewatch. I really enjoyed 1. I need to rewatch 1 and 2 before 3. But again, I think the clip was underwhelming. I think clips out of context are never good, particularly.
No. And they've chosen an action scene of them like storming a planet.
Yes.
You don't get.
I was really excited for Dune. I was really excited for Dune after the trailer.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
But
that's
then
a
the
great
clip, I was
trailer.
like,
It's very strange, and it's very sort of like, I get why they've chosen it because you're showing something in IMAX. You want something that captures the sheer scale of it, and that scene sort of does. But it didn't intrigue me. It was just people getting blown away on a beach somewhere, and it was a bit like, I've already seen this in Saving Private Ryan, and it was done.
well,
better
those
there.
the sort of battles and the taking over of other worlds and all this sort of stuff. There's no battle scenes in the book really.
No.
In terms of when they go off and conquer everywhere, we're just told they went off and conquered everywhere, and you kind of see the fallout of it. So I'm interested to see the film, but yeah, I think it's another signal for me that clips just aren't the best way to promote a film.
No,
They're just
I do.
out of context. You've got no context.
I do remember seeing the clip for The Dark Knight before Mission Impossible in IMAX and genuinely being like, wow, that's something I need to see. But I seem to remember they did the bank heist,
Yes,
the
well,
opening,
you're going to choose a
which
good
is
bit.
which is just like, so it's an action scene, but it's also setting up so much of the movie. Like, I do think it's just an odd choice. We haven't actually addressed, though, Neil, whether we enjoyed not Oppenheimer, sorry.
But we enjoyed
Odyssey.
Oppenheimer, I can tell you that.
We
That was
did,
a while ago.
yeah, I did. Oppenheimer remains my favorite Nolan movie. What did you make of the Odyssey?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't do classics at school. I didn't go to one of the schools that studied classics. I've never read Homer's Odyssey or the Iliad. I kind of feel like I should, but then I also feel like I've got better things to do with my time.
Yeah.
Because they are quite long. I'd quite like someone to translate it in a way that I don't have to read airy-fairy prose. Because I think, as some scholars have pointed out, it wasn't written in airy-fairy prose. It was written in the language of the time. So it doesn't need to be in sort of language that's not easy to understand. So I'd like if someone wants to do it in that version, then great. I think it's not a as Elon Musk would put it, as it recently has on Twitter, it's not a historically accurate portrayal of a fictional poem.
Yeah.
It's not sort of completely faithful to the poem in terms of what happens, from what I believe. But, it's a work of the poem itself is a work of fiction, kind of potentially based in historical fact. I know that the Troy probably was a actual city in kind of the Turkish region.
Yeah.
And there may well have been a battle there. But whether there was a horse that went inside or not, they don't know, and all these other things. So, I didn't go in being like, oh, no, they've not done that bit. They've not done that bit. Why have they made Calypso not just shag his brains out for 7 years and all the other stuff that I since know happens in the poem? So I kind of like the fact I didn't go in with that baggage. The bits of it I really liked. I think it didn't feel like 3 hours. I think that's the best compliment I can give it. I came out and I was like, that was really good. Like, that was really good. I think I leaned across to Elizabeth, who does PR for the festival, and I said, well, if I was any other film releasing this year thinking we've got a chance of getting that Best Picture Oscar, I'd delay my release.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't bother, because if a better film comes out this year in terms of Oscar contention, I'll be amazed. The only possible thing that could stand against it for Oscars is how early it's come out. But we look at what Sinners did last year, and I don't think that'll be a problem for it.
No, and I mean, you could argue, oh, it's too popular for the Academy, but Oppenheimer was super popular. The only thing I can think of that might mean it doesn't get Academy Award attention. I mean, it definitely will get attention, but stop it winning is, I don't know how arsed Christopher Nolan will be to campaign for it, to be completely honest. Now he's got the Oscar for Oppie.
Universal will.
Yeah, that is true. And I imagine Matt Damon will be fancying his chances as well for lead actor.
Yeah, my guess is there'll be a campaign for Robert Pattinson for supporting, maybe even Tom Holland for supporting, and definitely for probably Charlize Theron and Anne Hathaway for supporting. Because you can now, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to campaign for all of them.
I've heard Samantha Morton is the one who they want to put forward for Cersei.
Really?
Yeah, which surprised me because
such a short period of time.
Well, yeah, I know, but it surprised me because people my fiance is a massive Nolan fan. She runs a Nolan podcast called Nolan Me, Nolan You, and she went to the premiere, so she saw it a few days ahead of myself. And she really bigged up the Cersei scene for me. Like, she said, this is the moment of the movie you're going to love. And I really did enjoy that moment, but I wish she hadn't, simply because I was expecting something,
Yeah.
life-changing. And I think it's a great moment, and I really like the effects of her, molding the men, spoilers, into pigs. But it wasn't my favorite moment of the movie. I think the stuff when he gets back to Ithaca, with where he's sort of wandering around his house as a beggar, that for me is in the third act. That's the best stuff in the film, because I really like the Matt Damon sort of getting one over on Robert Pattinson and all the stuff with Penelope. I think that's the heart of the movie for me. But yeah, I think I loved it. I initially, when I came out of it, was a bit is that good? I thought it was great, but I was a bit I found the beginning very stop-start, when they're hopping from island to island.
Yes.
And I found it a little bit episodic, and they dealt with the Cyclops so quickly that I was like, ooh, that felt a little rushed. And unlike you, I did have a preconceived notion of what the Odyssey was through two sources, because I'm super highbrow. One being the Rest is History podcast, which literally did an episode on the Odyssey the day before. And secondly,
Elizabeth had also listened to that.
Yeah, well, there you go. And secondly, The Simpsons did an adaptation back in the 2000s, which has been burned into my brain. And I remember the Cyclops being such a bigger part of it than actually was in the movie. So I was like, oh no, are they just going to rush through all of, the trials along the way? But I was very wrong. I actually think once you get past it sort of slows down a little bit, and there's a lot more breathing room. And I came to understand what Nolan was trying to do, especially with the final reveal that the Greeks are essentially the sea people, this sort of semi-mythical, rumored people who are attacking other nations, the islands across the Mediterranean, who are the sort of driving force behind Telemachus's plot and why he wants to, why he's so desperate for Odysseus to return. I thought it was a really clever twist. I didn't see it coming. I really enjoyed it. And I think everything Nolan cut from the original myth is to underline and make that central idea he has of this is what happens when you let standards fall. You are only as good as you are to others. And I thought it was really clever. I had a great time with it. I was really, really impressed. And like you said, I did not feel the 2 hours, 55 minutes or whatever it is. I sort of blinked and it was over. I would like to see it again. It's just getting to see it again right now is a little bit of an issue because there's just no tickets outside. Well, I could go to a normal screening, I suppose.
Yeah, but I feel like that's cheating.
Yeah, I don't. Once you've seen it in IMAX 70mm, I almost don't want to see it in anything else.
No, which is going to be a struggle for home end because I don't have a 70mm IMAX projector in my house.
No, but maybe now is the time to upgrade.
Maybe. Yeah, I think there's a couple of bits of I don't know if they were CGI or when they missed the bit where they missed the whirlpool. and then the
Yeah.
Kraken or whatever it is comes out of the
Oh, yeah.
cliff. I just thought that looked a bit naff.
I thought that was the naffest bit of the movie. And I will say, and I've thought this about Nolan forever, the man cannot shoot an action scene. Like, he's gotten better than The Dark Knight Rises, which I think is the nadir of his ability to shoot a fight scene. But I was a little confused by the blocking. You know, when Odysseus is sort of fighting everyone off at the end, I was a bit like, you can use the excuse of, we're seeing it through Odysseus's eyes and it's confusing and frantic. And I was a bit like, or is it just poorly conceived compared to some of the action scenes we've seen in other movies?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind that fight at the end. You kind of knew where it was going. But I'd have liked Tom Holland to get a bit more involved in just running up and getting stabbed in the stomach and having a bit of a scuffle in the equipment room.
So I want to talk about Tom Holland because I've seen several very mean articles and tweets saying that he's the worst thing in that movie. And I really think it's unfair. Like, I think that...
I would say it's unfair. I'd say if you're going to make that criticism, then what you're realistically saying is his character is the worst thing in the movie. Because it's very specifically that his character... I think he does the character he is playing absolute justice in the film. Yeah. I don't think his acting is bad. I think some people just don't like that his character is in a very difficult position. Like, he wants to be able to take his dad's throne, but he's surrounded by men who have armies and are significantly more powerful than him. And he kind of just has to watch them court his mum while his dad's away. Like, it is all like... I think the character and the situation of the character is more what people don't like than how Tom Holland approached it. Because I don't think he approached it badly at all. I thought he was good in it.
I agree, and I think like he's playing Telemachus as younger than he is because the character's supposed to be about 20, but that's just, and he is sort of like, I don't want to say whiny, but he comes across as immature and a bit like, you know, you want to give him a bit of a shake. But that, like you say, is the point of the film, that, you know, he's not ready to take his father's throne yet. He's stood, you know, and he's, like you say, he's surrounded by enemies. He doesn't really know what to do. And we see him come of age through the events of the movie. I think it's really unfair. And I've seen a clip of him with Anne Hathaway, and they're like, she's going like, well, she's acting circles around him. And, you know, you can argue that she is a better actor than Tom Holland, but equally, she's Anne Hathaway, one of the greatest actors currently working in Hollywood. And, you know, he's still doing a really good job. I think he's the equal of Robert Pattinson. When they had their dialogue together, I didn't think to myself, wow, Robert's acting his, acting circles around Tom Holland. It was just... seems like a bizarre criticism, and I don't like that Variety article that ranked him 17th out of the entire cast, because it just seemed really wildly unfair.
No, I mean, there are some amazing performances in there, and I think, you know, I think his character is probably just one of the weaker characters in it. I think I think that's what he suffers from.
It's not affected the box office, though, has it?
No, it's not affected the box office. But will people have Tom Holland fatigue next weekend?
Well, we'll find out, but he is everywhere at the moment.
And Zendaya.
Yep. I've literally just finished writing a story about Tom Holland because he was on Hot Ones with Jon Bernthal, and nice. He's earned the ignominy of being the first celebrity to throw up while doing Hot Ones.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Which I'm sure the PR people are really happy with because, like you say, but as I just admitted, it's got a headline on the website I work for.
Yep. What did you think about the sort of lack of the gods, I suppose, in the Odyssey? Because that's the other thing that the story has a lot more of. I mean, the Greeks loved the gods falling in love with humans because humans are sort of fallible and have a bit more passion because they die, whereas the gods are immortal. Obviously, you've got Calypso and you've got Athena briefly sort of just appearing out of nowhere to chat to Odysseus. But there's no Poseidon, there's none of the other gods who feature in the Odyssey.
Yeah, but I think, like, it's not the story that Nolan wants to tell. Like, Nolan is telling a story where, essentially, Odysseus is telling us his story. Like, this is what, you know, like, the film is essentially Odysseus telling Calypso, here's what's happened to me. Oh, you're never going to believe it. I met a Cyclops. And I always took it as, is magic real? Is magic not? Obviously, like you can choose to believe that yes, it is, because we've only got Odysseus's word that I fought a Cyclops and I met a woman who turned my crew into pigs. You can argue, well, how did Calypso keep him there? Well, maybe he was just high on whatever that plant was, and it was just a
Lotus
natural.
flower.
Yeah, the lotus flower, and it really didn't bother me because I think the film does a fantastic job of showing you the gods without showing you the gods. Like the sea itself is clearly meant to be Poseidon in that movie. The thunderclouds and the thunderstrikes are meant to be Zeus. Like, I think if you'd have stopped it to go, like Jason in the Argonauts, which essentially ends with the gods going, God, what a great chap that Jason fella is. I think it really would have taken people out of the movie, and I like the ambiguity around, well, is any of this real, or is this just Odysseus' retelling of it? Is the Athena he sees really Athena, or is it PTSD from his time in Troy and the murder of that priestess? Like, I think it's clever. I think it's, it gives you something to talk about. It gives the film a little more meat. And I think if you'd have just gone, oh yeah, no, gods are real and here is Zeus, like, it would have broken the flow of the movie when I was already complaining about how episodic it felt at the beginning. I don't know how you feel about it.
Again, I think he wanted to ground it in the human story of Odysseus getting home. So
Yeah.
I think to suddenly bring in all-powerful gods of the sea and other things like that was probably a bit much. I mean, Calypso is a god, and I think the other gods had to intervene to get her to release Odysseus in the original story. I mean, it is different. I think in the original story, she kept him on that island by promising him eternal youth.
Yes.
And pleasures of the flesh.
Yes.
So maybe eating lotus flower is a euphemism for something, Tom.
Perhaps. Yeah, because, so in the original, I've been told off for talking too much about the original, but in the poem, when he goes to Hades, which by the way is probably my favorite set piece moment in the film, like when the dead people come out of the ground, he meets Achilles. And Achilles basically says to him, when I was a kid, I was given the choice of a short but brilliant life where I'd become famous and renowned around the world, or a long life of ignominy, where no one would ever know my name. And I wish I'd chosen ignominy rather than fame. And the scholars have taken this as like the Odyssey as a criticism of immortality. So I imagine when they the Odyssey like basically is this all propaganda about live the longest life you possibly can, which then is contradicted by his decision to leave Calypso when she offers him immortality. So I wonder if Nolan was like, well, that doesn't quite scan, so I'm going to cut that from the film.
Yeah, I think he wanted to kind of keep it as this sort of slightly hazy, drug-induced retelling and memory coming back to him of what happened, so we could sort of do that piecemeal, bringing back together putting the stories together, leading up to Calypso actually allowing him to leave the island. And just to point out, Charlize Theron looked fantastic as Calypso. I mean, she seems to have eternal youth.
Yeah, she does. She met the real Calypso in the Med. She was like, "Do you want to live forever?"
So yeah, right. So Odyssey, a thumbs up for the Odyssey.
Yeah, a big thumbs up.
And my prediction, if it's not, well, there's an absolute guarantee. I would put my house on it. I'm not going to, but I would put my house on it that it will be on the Oscar Best Picture list.
I think that's the safest bet you could possibly make right now.
My guess is the odds for that won't be very good, though.
Yeah, no, you're not gonna make a fortune by putting that on Polymarket now.
But yeah, I thought it was really good. If you've not seen it, go and see it. If you can, go and see it in 70mm IMAX because it is just incredible in that format. I think you can either go to London or to Manchester for that. Isn't the other 70mm at the Science?
The other day, yeah, we've got the Science Museum and but they are both sold out until September. So your only option is to go to Manchester.
Come to Manchester. Yeah, it's fun. Have a fun day out in Manchester and come watch it at the 70mm IMAX at the Printworks.
You've got your own Downing Street now.
Nearer the back. You want to be nearer the back. Because it's an old school IMAX where it is at the front. Supposedly, there's not a bad seat anywhere in the cinema, but the ones at the front are very close.
I have sat at the front of that IMAX. I can tell you there are bad seats in that IMAX.
Yeah. Do you think this is a signal that the films like Supergirl, I don't know, Masters of the Universe, what else has flopped this year?
So,
Mando
Mandalorian
and
and Grogu.
Grogu. Is this a sign that if those films had just been better, people would have come out to see them? Or is this just the Nolan factor?
I think it's really difficult to tell at this point. I think it's like, you can argue that, Supergirl is too obscure a character, maybe to attract a general audience. We have seen that people, like, I don't necessarily agree with this, but it's clear that there is, when you have female-led superhero movies, people are less interested. I mean, like Black Widow, the Marvels. Well, Captain Marvel broke a bill, but it came off the back of Endgame,
Yeah,
so
true.
like, it's I don't want to prescribe a pattern to it when there are other factors at play. But yeah, then you look at like Mando and Grogu, which I think Disney have really salted the ground for themselves with Disney Plus. Like, why would I ever if unless I know this is coming to Disney Plus eventually, so why would I spend like 25 quid going to see it in the cinema?
I just think that was the wrong film to try and bring Star Wars back to
I
the
agree.
cinema. I think Starfighter next year will be much more interesting to see how Star Wars does theatrically again.
But equally, you're giving me a reason to go to the cinema because I love Ryan Gosling. And I'm not saying I don't love Pedro Pascal, but it's just that you've taught me that character is a TV character. And I think the big test for all of this is going to be next week. I think on Wednesday next week, when Spider-Man comes out, like, that's going to be, if Spider-Man does 800 mil, and this sounds ridiculous to say, let's say, Spider-Man finishes its run at 800 mil worldwide, that will be considered a flop. I will consider the superhero bubble well and truly over.
I think the trades are going to be very, very hard on it if it doesn't have the biggest opening weekend of the year.
I think you're probably right. I think you are probably right. And I think, like,
if it does 120 million opening weekend, I think that they're going to be calling it the death knell there.
I am genuinely fascinated by what's going to happen with it, because it really does feel like we're getting to crunch time with this type of movie. Like, like the interest is clearly waning when you compare it to stuff like the Odyssey. In fact, even look at something like Project Hail Mary much earlier this year, a film that did really, really well out of nowhere, but it was because the movie was so good. People wouldn't stop talking about it. Obsession is exactly the same. These movies, like, they feel like they're just better than, I didn't hate Mandalorian and Grogu. I just thought it felt like low effort. And the same with Supergirl. All of these movies just feel like someone was obligated to make them rather than, anyone wanting to. I will say, I feel like Spider-Man, watching the trailers and watching Tom Holland constantly on the Hot Ones promoting it, it feels like this is a movie made by someone with a little bit of a vision, and that, Daniel Destin Cretton, I think, is the director. He's spoken about like reworking the script to be what he wanted it to be, and Tom Holland played a part in that. So I'm cautiously optimistic. But if this doesn't, like you say, if this has a bad opening weekend, or even just a good opening weekend, I think people will smell blood in the water on it.
Yeah, because it's Spider-Man. I mean, Spider-Man he's one of the big ones.
It's interesting as well. I mean, this is anecdotal. I've got tickets booked to see Spider-Man on Wednesday morning. On Wednesday, which is because they're doing that stupid 4-day weekend preview event they do to, fudge the numbers on their opening weekend box office, and it is sold out. Like, the screening that I'm in is sold out, and there's a press screening on Tuesday, which unusual. Normally, it's quite easy to get +1s to these sort of events, but you can't have a +1 to this, which again seems to suggest there's vast interest in it, at least from the media world. So I think there are reasons to be hopeful for it. It's going to be a bumpy ride, I think, is probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah, I think the thing with Spider-Man, you often get people who don't, necessarily go and watch all the other superhero movies going to see Spider-Man. It's whether people worried. Like, I went and watched whatever the first one was called. With Tom Holland in. I hadn't been involved in Marvel and the Avengers. I didn't, I wasn't too bothered about all that kind of stuff. But I went and saw the Spider-Man because I like Spider-Man. Uh, I saw the second one, I think, in the cinema, and then the third one, I was like, this doesn't look like a standalone Spider-Man film. This looks the multiverse of madness. I don't care.
So I think
I don't want it too ingrained in all this wide. I don't want to know about Doctor Strange coming in, all this wider plot stuff. I just want a Spider-Man movie. And the poster worries me slightly for that. But again, I've just looked at my local Cineworld on for Wednesday afternoon in the super screen, and it is rammed.
So I will say, I think you're spot on, because I think No Way Home is easily the weakest of the Holland movies, because it is literally just remember this from the 2000s, the film. But I think there's a little bit of a catch-22, because you're going to get people like you saying, I just want a Spider-Man movie. Like, I'm not interested in seeing, everyone, like, is in cameos. I just want to see a decent Spider-Man movie. But I think there's a vast part of the audience now who've been trained to think, well, if Andrew Garfield isn't in this, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you mean Tobey Maguire's not in it? I don't want to watch a movie with just one Spider-Man. So I'm curious what word of mouth is going to be. Because, if it's a small-scale thing, people are like, it's boring. Where was Doctor Strange? Where was the multiverse? Like, it's going to be an interesting one.
I just want a film with a plot like Supergirl, where she's just trying to save a dog.
Yeah, well, I'm
down with that. I can get down with that. I can get down with that. This end of the universe stuff. I'm tired of the universe ending. I don't care.
Well, one thing, speaking of the end of the universe, one thing that I guess you could claim bodes well in theory for Marvel is they released the trailer for Doomsday this week.
They did. That did okay.
It did, yes. I think it beat the record set by GTA 6 for the most watched trailer of all time. I may be wrong there, but I know it did. I remember, I think it had been up for 30 seconds before someone sent it to me, and it had 10 million views in those 30 seconds.
Currently at 48 million views.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be happy with. I mean, if you were making a movie and you put out your trailer, you'd take that, wouldn't you?
And that's at the official account. I don't know if people are aware, but when studios release trailers, they'll release them on their own official account, like the Marvel Entertainment account in this instance, but then they'll also give it to every other YouTube account that has a decent film following to put up on their account as well. So it will be like AMC Theatres will have it out, and all the other, it will be up all over the place. That's 48 million just in the one place. And then there's the people doing Doomsday trailer breakdown.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Live watch of the Doomsday trailer, live reaction.
I mean, the interesting thing with Doomsday is, do you know what day it's coming out now?
The same day as Dune.
The same day as Dune 3. So Robert Downey Jr. and Timothée Chalamet have called it Doomsday. Go see Doomsday and Dune. I think I think Disney probably are spitting feathers that they don't have the IMAXs, because Warner Brothers apparently booked them years in advance for Dune.
Also, just to be clear, that isn't counter-programming a la Barbenheimer.
No, it's not. It's the same. It's slightly cannibalistic, isn't it?
Yeah.
I really expected them to move at least one of them.
No, they're being stubborn.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. You know what? Maybe in December I'll be eating my words. Maybe I'll be like, Doomsday was bigger than Barbenheimer. I mean, I doubt it, but
right. And just to wrap up, because I think we've been chatting long enough. The Venice have announced their lineup, and again, in a sort of carry on from Cannes, the lineup isn't as Hollywood heavy as previous years, although they have got some pretty big name titles. So they've got Martin McDonagh's new film. They're opening with Danny Boyle's new film. They've got the new film from Werner Herzog. They've got the new Corrieda. They've got a lot of buzzy indie films as well. They've got a documentary about some band called Oasis who got back together last year, apparently. So yeah, I mean, they've got some really good titles. It will be a starry affair. They'll have plenty of celebs in attendance at the Lido. So it'll be a starry affair, but yeah, just slightly less Hollywood than usual. Kind of carrying on from Cannes. But I mean, new Martin McDonagh, new Danny Boyle, Casey Affleck's new film, and then just a load of stuff that looks really interesting from up and coming directors and from auteurs. They've got the new Paul Schrader movie. They've got a Russell Crowe directed film, which
Can't
is a
be worse than the Travolta one.
Well, it's a documentary, so I'm hoping it's slightly better. So they'll have the star power out on the Lido, and that's what they want. There have been some. I mean, I'd love to find the quote. Actually, let me see if I can find the quote from the head of. No, it was the head of Locarno. Don't worry, it was the head of Locarno, not Venice. But it was an absolutely mad quote for their programming of the festival. I feel one of the more pretentious things you've ever read.
I feel obligated to tell people as well that Robert Pattinson's new movie is going to be there, which is the adaptation of To Catch a Predator, which, if you're around in the 2000s, will hold a certain cultural cachet with you that I don't think Gen Z are going to be entirely into.
No, probably not.
I was shocked to see Digger isn't going to be there, by the way. I thought that was going to be nailed on.
Yes, I mean, we were all. They still could be announcing more.
Right. Okay.
So definitely could be more coming. So Locarno. This is the Locarno guy. Let me just read you this quote. So the question was: let's start with so-called philosophy behind this year's selection. You've described it as curated diversity. Can you elaborate? It puts the accent on curation and diversity, but diversity understood in all its forms. It's a curated multiplicity of possibilities in the spectrum of filmic expression.
I don't know what any of that means.
It's just words, I believe.
Was this spoken aloud or was this a written statement?
I don't know.
Because I don't think any human in the history of humanity has ever spoken like that, ever.
No. Just mad.
I genuinely don't know what it means. Is that going to be the philosophy for Manchester 2027?
Yeah, I think we're going to take on the same philosophy. Because I don't know what it means.
Yeah, well, if it gets Robert Pattinson to come to your film festival.
Well, no, so that wasn't Venice. That was the head of Locarno.
Right.
That was the head
apologies.
Of Locarno.
Right.
But maybe that's the sort of thing I need to be saying when I do my press releases. Maybe my quote writer, maybe my speech writer is not writing enough absolute guff for me to regurgitate.
Tell Elizabeth that these are the type of things you want to be saying in the press release for in future.
Yeah, exactly. Right, on that note, go check out the Venice lineups, go see the Odyssey, and if you want to, see Spider-Man. But
yeah, you might as well.
Right, we'll see you next time between screenings. Bye.